I'm delighted to introduce Patrick de Cambourg, who's the chair of the Sustainability Reporting Board of EFRAG. An amazing amount of work has been done by Patrick and all the experts in all the different working groups in developing non-financial reporting standards. And I know, Patrick, you will say more about the next steps in that work. But again, it would also be interesting to hear from you how you've built forward-looking analysis into the standards and to make them nonetheless credible and auditable, as Sirpa has just pointed out. Patrick, thank you for being with us. Again, I know you're extremely busy at the moment. And I'm delighted that you also agreed to stay with us on the panel afterwards. But with that, I pass over to you for some reflections and giving us an update on what EFRAG is doing.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all. Of course, it's a pleasure to be here, and I would echo what I just heard from the honorable MEP. You know, it's a long-term effort, it's a journey, and it's also, you know, more of a management, no, I wouldn't say that, but as much a management exercise than a compliance exercise and a transparency exercise. I think we are not in a tick-the-box exercise. We are in a fundamental evolution to onboard sustainability matters in the management of companies and in the relationships of companies with other stakeholders, whoever they are. So let me highlight a little bit where we stand. And to start with, I would like to say that because, you know, sometimes it's not perceived enough. With the adoption of the ESRS on July 31st and the end of the scrutiny period at the end of October, it's a milestone moment in the EU, because following long debates, which were extremely important, now on the basis of a political decision, the first set of sector agnostic standards is embedded into the EU legal framework. So we have the CSRD, which is being transposed in member states, and we have now the ESRS, which as a delegated act apply in the 27 countries of the Union. So, you know, it's not a minor achievement. It's not without challenges, but it is a critical moment for the EU, totally in line with the direction of travel that was established at the beginning of the mandate in 2019, end of 2019, early 2020. So, you know, I think all people that have contributed to this momentum can be proud of what has been achieved. Of course, nothing is perfect in life, but this is on the basis of a political momentum, a political decision, and hard technical work. It is a very critical step. So I will focus now on what we focus upon at EFRAG in order to make all this a success, because adopting a legal framework is one thing, making it work is something more. So we have adopted a work program at EFRAG. This is based, of course, on the current availability of resources and on a number of assumptions, because we still are on developing our activities, sometimes in an uncharted territory. And what is very key is that we put our priorities on implementation support, and I will explain, and also on standards for SME. Of course, as you all know, our standard setting activities at EFRAG are governed by our due process procedures, which establish a number of steps that we have to adopt for each deliverable. You know, the overview is that we, starting from the bottom, we have what we call the implementation explanations and implementation guidance issuance and the Q&A platform. I will develop this. This is an ongoing task that we will carry out for, you know, starting from the end of October, last October, onward. And then we are delivering 3 key documents on what we call implementation guidance. So MAIG, VCIG, and data points IG, I will explain. The 2 standards for SMEs and also the XBRL taxonomy. You know, either just before Christmas, we are almost there, or beginning of January. We will consult with a view to deliver the draft standards to the Commission by November 2025 for LSME and VSME, which I will explain. And then we will start working also, of course, on the non-EU standards, the standards for non-EU companies operating in the EU, and also a first batch of sector-specific standards. And regarding financial institutions, we will start working actively on it beginning of 2024. So implementation support. Next. So we have a Q&A platform has been available since the end of October 24 to be precise. So we offer the possibility to each and every stakeholder in a very open manner to ask questions in accordance to a template. The template is a bit demanding because we want people to formulate their questions properly and also to think about the possible alternatives in terms of responses. But nevertheless, this is very open. So at this stage, we have already received a little less than 200 questions. So, and we are addressing them as we speak. So our task in doing so is to categorize the questions. Some require just simple explanations because it's a matter of understanding the relationships between various paragraphs in various standards. We agree that the legal language is not always easy to understand, and therefore we try to help here. And this is not submitted to public feedback. We also reject sometimes because the template is asking for a certain number, either because it's too widespread or not precise enough, or there is no reasoning behind, or it's totally out of scope. We received questions that were not related to the implementation of the ESRS, but this is a minority. And then we have what is related to implementation guidance. So implementation guidance, is twofold. I will explain in a minute that we have already drafted 3 + 2 documents that are of an implementation guidance nature. We will do more, either as an addendum of those documents or as a self-standing guidance additional. And this will be submitted to public feedback for a period of 30 days. And we hope to launch that for the 3 documents I was mentioning earlier before Christmas, but neutralizing Christmas, so for the end of January. And then we have also the possible amendments to ESRS. But as you know, possible amendments to ESRS are not in our remit. We have to elaborate, but we are not responsible for the ultimate issuance of that. So we might, in cooperation with the Commission, consider how to do that. So now, 3 documents regarding so here, sorry, the categorization I just explained. So I think we can move to the next slide, please. 3 documents are already approved or will be approved today. The last one will be approved today in the board that will take place this afternoon. So the first one is IG1, which is related to recommendations on how to perform the materiality assessment, which is absolutely pivotal in the preparation of the sustainability statement. So the second one is how to consider value chain in the preparation of the sustainability statements. It's a tricky issue, and we wanted to clarify how best to do it. And last but not least, IG3 is a document where we list the full universe of data points in the most granular way to help companies perform their gap analysis. Bearing in mind that many data points are subject to the materiality assessment, so they do not have to be disclosed if they are not material. Let me highlight that these implementation guidance documents are non-authoritative. They will not be adopted by the Commission. They are issued under the sole responsibility of EFRAG, and they are not designed to introduce new provisions because that would be for amendments of ESRS. And that's, well, regarding SME standards, let me start with the why. Listed SMEs are in the scope of the corporate sustainability reporting directive, but this is an important but small population. In full cooperation with the Commission, we decided to issue a voluntary standard for the other SMEs, the vast population, more than 20 million in the EU, that would need to consider sustainability and sustainability reporting as an important addition to their management and to their relationships with other stakeholders. So we decided to operate under a modified and simplified standard for voluntary SMEs. So 2 standards, next slide. 2 standards, the one for the listed SMEs, which is legally binding and will follow the provisions in the CSRD, and the voluntary one, which will not be legally binding, but which will be an empowering tool and under a modular approach. So the key features of the listed SME standards are that, of course, we have tried to simplify to the maximum extent possible what was required from large companies. What is in scope? We are talking about the listed SMEs. So it's a population of about 1,000 entities. Also the non-systemic banks, 2,000 banks, and the captive insurance and reinsurance companies. And by the way, we do not have any information of substance on the number of those companies. So, of course, we took into account investors' protection, but also the proportionality. And by the way, this standard, in accordance with the CSRD, establishes what is called the value chain cap for large undertakings. In other words, large undertakings cannot require from other companies more than what it will be asked to listed SMEs. This is possibly the most important element of this standard. Next slide, please. Regarding listed SME, we of course, this is a huge population, proportionality via a simplified language and modularity. And what we are trying to foster is market acceptance by all, i.e. the SMEs to start with, but also banks and companies in the value chain and other stakeholders. So we have analyzed the various questionnaires and multiple questionnaires that are flying around, and we have tried to capitalize upon that, establishing a common data platform that would be useful for all participants. So we have 3 modules. There is a basic modules which is designed for even for micro enterprises, with only 11 disclosure requirements, which are very basic, if I may. Then we have 2 other modules. One is called Narrative, which is a little more complex, but explains what are the policies on the key aspects of sustainability that have been adopted by the non-listed SME. And then another one, which is called Business Partners, which is designed to meet the expectations in terms of information from banks and other large and large companies, or other SMEs by the same token. As you see, 11 disclosure requirements, which are mostly aligned with SFDR and other and the set 1 disclosure requirements. So this, and any SME will have to decide in conjunction with its ecosystem if they want to apply basic module, which is of course the basis, plus Narrative or Business Partners and Business Partners. We will launch the public consultation in January for 4 months on those standards. So please make sure that you consider giving us guidance on how you react to those 2 drafts, exposure drafts, and we will deliver in November 2024 to the Commission, which will adopt LSME as a delegated act and will probably publish, not as a delegated act, but as a guidelines, the SME one. On the XBRL taxonomy, please go one more slide. Yes, this is absolutely key. We feel that human readable reports are nice, but access to digital information on those reports, i.e. the digital version of those reports, is absolutely critical. So we have worked since the end of 2022 and the full year of 2023 on establishing from our standpoint, the granularity of what is expected, in particular for narrative information, from sustainability statements. And this is ready. We will submit this to the approval of the Sustainability Reporting Board early January, and we will consult on that for 2 months in the first quarter, in Q1 2024. Bearing in mind that the output of what we do is then transmitted to the Commission and to ESMA, which have then to establish the storage mechanisms, the pipes, and to finalize what they expect from preparers. I'm a strong advocate of keeping the granularity of narrative information, which is envisaged by the standards in accordance with what has been decided by EFRAG and the Commission ultimately, because aggregating further or disaggregating is creating a disconnect, and that's not a good idea. Regarding the sector ESRS, even if the Commission has proposed to the co-legislators to revise the deadline, which was not realistic initially, so June 2024 was not realistic, so it's going to be postponed to June 2026, we hope. Anyway, we would not be in position to deliver, but we are working on it. Of course, we have prioritized implementation, support, and SMEs, but we have not, of course, stopped on standards. And we will continue. It's a long journey, but we hope to be delivering November 2025 a first batch of standards to the Commission for the Commission to adopt in June 2026 as in accordance with the revised deadline, which I hope will be adopted. So next, I think you have more details here. Yeah, maybe a quick point here. The extraterritorial dimension of the CSRD is often ignored. In fact, non-EU groups operating in the EU with more than 150 million of turnover will have to report on certain key aspects of sustainability at group level if they want to continue operating in the EU. So we are just starting the journey on the standard setting exercise. I can tell you it is a huge amount of work that is being done outside the EU to say, what does this mean? What does this mean? And we have many conversations. One last point maybe on interoperability. We are very clear here. We did every effort, and I think we reached the goal, to make sure that people reporting under ESRS will also be reporting incorporating the ISSB disclosure requirements, point one, and also will be deemed reporting with reference to GRI. So we have consolidated somehow under our double materiality umbrella both the investor focus of ISSB and two, the impact reporting focus of GRI, because this is our duty in accordance with the CSRD to embed those two dimensions anyway. So we are consolidated with a clear goal to avoid multiple reports for ESRS reporters. Moving reporting in accordance with ESRS is already a significant step to climb. So we didn't want to complexify, and we hope that this is well understood, both in human readable format, but also in digital format. We are working with GRI and ISSB to make sure that we have the digital bridges that facilitate everything. Thank you very much.
Patrick, thank you very much indeed. I know we're slightly over, but I think it was a very, very valuable presentation to get a snapshot as to where you're thinking on the next steps, the consultations which are coming out for the personal preference just after Christmas. I know you kind of don't count those days for your deadline, but in any case, it will be interesting to see those consultations, and very reassuring what you said at the end about the international consistency. And I know you're working extremely hard with the ISSB, and the GRI announcements have also been very, very encouraging to contribute wherever needed for companies to meet the double materiality requirements.